months from today, in November, Ohio's next execution of a death row inmate was scheduled to happen.
Finding that the prerequisites of law have been met and that a jury of his peers has unanimously found death to be the appropriate sentence.
Drummond and an accomplice fired 11 shots from an assault rifle and several more from a handgun into the homes of that child.
This week, First News has told you about neighbors hearing all the gunshots and being scared to look out their windows.
New information. Authorities are now releasing the names of the 2 adults and the baby killed in Youngstown last night. Their ShotSpotter picked up heavy gunfire on the south side.
Youngstown's latest homicide victim was apparently no stranger to violence.
Case background. John Drummond Jr., a resident of Youngstown, stands accused of the heinous torture and ending of Ronald Maceo Hall from Ashtabula, as asserted by Associate Assistant Attorney General Brian S. Deckard. The slaying trial commenced in the Ashtabula County Common Pleas Court, with Drummond facing charges of 2 counts of aggravated slaying and kidnapping in connection with Hall's demise in 1997. Prosecutors allege that Drummond orchestrated the brutal slaying due to his belief that Hall had stolen $10,000 from a mutual acquaintance. The prosecution's case has been bolstered by the cooperation of 5 other individuals: Troy Jones, Joanna Evans, Eric Weaver, George Church, and Stephen Bowles, who have already pleaded guilty to kidnapping charges. In exchange for their testimonies against Drummond, the slaying charges against them were dropped. This plea agreement highlights the gravity of the accusations against Drummond and underscores the collective culpability in Hall's tragic demise. According to the prosecution's narrative, Hall endured unspeakable crime at the hands of Drummond and his accomplices. He was subjected to beatings, pistol whippings, and ultimately fatal gunshots which claimed his life. The details of Hall's harrowing ordeal paint a chilling picture of the ruthlessness and brutality inflicted upon him by those who sought retribution for an alleged theft. As the trial unfolds, the courtroom serves as a solemn arena where the quest for justice intersects with the anguish of loss and the scars of violence. For the family and loved ones of Hall, the proceedings represent a painful journey towards closure as they confront the stark reality of his senseless demise.
Like so many others, was recently pushed back.
It's been 5 years since the state's last execution.
Youngstown's latest homicide victim was apparently no stranger to violence.
It was intense at sentencing. The courtroom was packed with family and friends supporting the defendant.
A bullet hit him in the head as he was at a baby swing in the living room of his home.
The gravity of the charges against Drummond looms large as the prosecution endeavors to hold him accountable for the atrocities committed against Hall. Slaying of Ronald Maceo Hall. In a somber courtroom in Ashtabula County Common Pleas Judge Alfred Mackey's chambers, the trial of John Drummond Jr. commenced, casting light on a tragic event that unfolded over 2 decades ago. Charged with 2 counts of aggravated slaying and kidnapping, Drummond stands accused of the brutal slaying of Ronald Maceo Hall, a man he believed to have stolen $10,000 from a mutual acquaintance in 1997. The trial, steeped in the complexities of justice and human frailty, began with jurors visiting the scene of the crime, an apartment on West 38th Street in Ashtabula, before returning to the courthouse to hear the opening statements from the attorneys. Represented by public defender Marie Lane, Drummond's defense hinges on the contention that the evidence presented by the prosecution is inconclusive, primarily due to the loss of crucial evidence by the Ashtabula police over the years. However, the prosecution, led by Associate Assistant Attorney General Brian S. Deckard, painted a harrowing picture of the events leading to Hall's untimely demise. According to testimony, Hall endured torture before being mercilessly executed, a grim consequence of being wrongfully accused of theft. The narrative unfolded with chilling detail. Jones, one of the key figures in the case, learned of the purported theft of a safe while attending a concert in Youngstown. Suspecting Hall or Damian Dino Young, Jones and his associates armed themselves and journeyed to Ashtabula in search of retribution. Monique Shaw, an Ashtabula resident, testified that Hall sought refuge in Jones's address upon learning that he was being hunted. Despite warnings from his cousin Monique Robinson, Hall found himself ensnared in a fatal confrontation with his pursuers. Lane, in her opening statement, placed the focus squarely on George Church, labeling him as the catalyst behind the tragedy. Church, a pivotal witness, offered insight into the events leading up to Hall's demise. Despite his past convictions, Church expressed a desire to atone for his actions by cooperating with the authorities. His testimony painted a chaotic picture where Hall's fate was sealed in a moment of crime, allegedly at the hands of Drummond. However, Lane vehemently contested Church's account, asserting that his testimony was tainted by a desire for a reduced sentence.
3 months from today, in November, Ohio's next execution of a death row inmate was scheduled to happen.
Youngstown policemen who responded to the shooting are talking about what they did, trying to make sure there was at least one survivor.
Finding that the prerequisites of law have been met, and that a jury of his peers has unanimously found death to be the appropriate sentence.
He took away his right to raise his children and to...
The courtroom atmosphere was fraught with emotion, with Hall's mother shedding tears as the prosecutor recounted her son's final hours. The trial, a culmination of years of legal proceedings and investigations, serves as a stark reminder of the enduring quest for justice and closure. As the trial unfolds, it brings to the forefront the complexities of the human condition, of greed, vengeance, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Behind the legal arguments and testimonies lies a poignant narrative of lives irrevocably altered by violence and betrayal. For the families involved, the trial represents a chance for resolution, albeit tinged with the pain of reliving past traumas. In the pursuit of justice, the courtroom becomes a crucible where the threads of truth and falsehood are woven together, tested against the weight of evidence and testimony. For Drummond and his co-defendants, the trial represents a pivotal moment where the consequences of their actions are laid bare for all to see. As the legal proceedings unfold, the search for answers continues, offering a glimmer of hope in the face of tragedy. In the hallowed halls of justice, the trial of John Drummond Jr. stands as a testament to the enduring pursuit of truth and accountability. Amidst the intricacies of legal proceedings and the complexities of human nature, it serves as a reminder of the profound impact of violence and the quest for justice in its wake. John E. Drummond's journey from a troubled upbringing in Youngstown, Ohio, to demise row at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility is a tragic tale intertwined with crime, gang affiliations, and the irrevocable loss of innocent lives. Scheduled for ending on April 21, 2022 for the slaying of 3-month-old Gian Dent Jr., Drummond's fate has been postponed to April 16, 2025. The impending ending casts a stark light on the complexities of justice, the enduring scars of crime, and the quest for redemption in the face of unspeakable tragedy. Raised in Youngstown amidst the turmoil of his parents' divorce, Drummond found solace and ultimately entrapment in the Lincoln Knowles Crips gang at a tender age of 13. Dropping out of school and ensnared in a cycle of violence and addiction, Drummond's life took a dark turn. His involvement in cocaine misuse and affiliation with the gang marked the beginning of a downward spiral that culminated in a series of heinous crimes. The tragic events of March 24, 2003 marked a turning point in Drummond's descent into infamy. Fueled by vengeance and paranoia, Drummond and his accomplice Wayne Gilliam unleashed a barrage of gunfire upon the home of Gian Dent Sr., LaToya Butler, and their infant son, Gian Dent Jr. The senseless act of crime claimed the life of the innocent 3-month-old, shattering the lives of the Dent family and reverberating throughout the community. Despite Drummond's vehement denial of involvement in the shooting, circumstantial evidence and his subsequent confessions while incarcerated painted a damning portrait of his guilt.
The Supreme Court has set a 2020 execution date for a Youngstown gang member who fatally shot a 3-month-old boy.
Very dramatic day in court as a young man learned his fate.
Drummond and an accomplice fired 11 shots from an assault rifle and several more from a handgun into the homes of that child.
And that's where she was transported to the hospital with a gunshot wound to the leg.
Convicted of slaying and sentenced to demise, Drummond's fate was sealed, while Gillian received a lesser sentence for his role in the crime. The specter of violence and tragedy continued to haunt Drummond as he faced another trial and conviction in 2013 for the cold case slaying of Ronald Maceo Hall in 1997. Hall's brutal demise, marked by beatings and a fatal gunshot wound, further underscored the depth of Drummond's depravity and disregard for human life. sentenced to life in prison for Hall's slaying, Drummond's dual convictions serve as a testament to the enduring legacy of his crimes. Amidst the legal battles and struggles to obtain ending drugs, Ohio's demise penalty system has grappled with controversy and uncertainty.
Today, in the case of John Drummond, Drummond was convicted of killing 3-month-old Jylan Dent Jr. in March 2003.
As the state continues to struggle to find the drugs needed for lethal injection.
This week, First News has told you about neighbors hearing all the gunshots and being scared to look out their windows.
Exclusion of reasonable doubt. The court finds the factors are proven are sufficient to impose a sentence of death.
Drummond's rescheduled ending date reflects the broader challenges faced by the state in administering capital punishment, raising questions about the efficacy and morality of the demise penalty. As Drummond awaits his fate behind bars, the families of Gian Dent and Ronald Hall grapple with the profound grief and trauma inflicted by his actions. Their prayers for peace, healing, and justice echo in the corridors of the courtroom and beyond as they seek closure and solace amidst the wreckage of tragedy. In the midst of despair and darkness, there's a glimmer of hope for redemption and forgiveness. As prayers are offered for the victims and perpetrators alike, there's a collective plea for compassion and understanding. Whether Drummond's ending proceeds as scheduled or is met with further delays, the search for truth, justice, and reconciliation continues, a journey marked by pain, sorrow, and the enduring quest for healing and redemption.
As we told you yesterday, the officers rushed the youngest victim to the hospital, but it was too late.
New information. Authorities are now releasing the names of the 2 adults and the baby killed in Youngstown last night.
Official death penalty moratorium continues, and the governor keeps pushing back execution dates for death row inmates.
Their shot spotter picked up heavy gunfire on the south side.
That's all for this video, guys. See you next time, and bye for now.